Well, hello everyone. Thank you for coming back and listening to I Am Nylis. I am going to do a special presentation on this episode number 6. Since it's Memorial Day, I'm recording this over the holidays and partially thereafter, depending on when I get done with this. I want to talk about Memorial Day a bit and remember a friend of mine and talk about some things pertaining to Memorial Day. And so I'm going to get right into it so I don't talk too long today. And we'll be back after the break to start with my Memorial Day podcast. While every shelter pet is unique, some love a good game of fetch. Others would rather snuggle together on the couch. However, there is one thing that they all have in common. They're all pure love. Right now, millions of pets in shelters and rescues across the country are waiting to be adopted. My family adopted 3 dogs, 2 cats, and we just love them all, and we love to give them a special place, and they're special in our hearts. So if you're thinking about getting a pet this holiday season, make sure to visit the shelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, Maddie's Fund, and the Humane Society of America. Well, welcome back, everyone. And this is a special I Am Nylis Memorial Day podcast. This time of year, it's kind of touching. I do a lot of events as I'm in the American Legion, and I am a veteran, and so I participate. I'm a retired E6 from the U.S. Army, so I participate in as many of the programs as I can. So I'm going to roll right into this and talk about Memorial Day, which I don't know how many people realize this, but it wasn't always called Memorial Day. No, it was for many years, nearly 100 years. I would say about 102 years, if I remember correctly. 102 years it was called Decoration Day. And Memorial Day used to be on May 30th every year, and it started in 1868, and not until 1970 was the last year it was on May 30th. After that, it was changed to the last Monday in May, which we now know, and it now falls on, like this year on 2019, it fell on May 27th, the last Monday of May. And some people even know it as the beginning of summer. It's the unofficial start of summer. Everybody knows it for that, barbecues, celebrations. But I really hope that you take time each year on Memorial Day and remember those that have fallen and have passed in service of our country, because that's truly what it's all about. And I hope that's what you do, at least for a short period of time, whether it's a moment of silence, if it's saying a prayer for those that paid the ultimate sacrifice before you eat, when you're barbecuing and stuff like that. That would go a lot to show anybody and everybody around that that you take it serious, and I really wish people would take it serious. Well, one of the things that I also wanted to talk about was the differences. Memorial Day is as I just said, is to remember those that have fallen or died while serving. And some people mistake it with Veterans Day, which is a time to honor, also a federal holiday, but honors the men and women who previously served in the armed forces and are still living. This is not a day that was meant to be. Veterans Day was not meant to honor the ones that have fallen. It's to honor the ones that are living and have served. And then we have Armed Forces Day. That's another one that it's not a federal holiday, so a lot of people don't even know what it is. It's the third Saturday in May, so it's right before Memorial Day. And it's usually honored by different service organizations, and they do presentations. And this is pretty much is to honor all the currently serving military folks. And so it was also, if I remember correctly, yes, it was a holiday that was created in August 31st, 1949 by the Defense Secretary Lewis Johnson. And that was to replace all the separate, there used to be separate like Army, Navy, Air Force days and stuff. And since all these services came under one Department of Defense, we didn't have the Department of the Army, the Department of the Air Force, or Army Air Corps, and Department of the Navy, and all this kind of stuff. They combined into the Department of the Defense, and so this was to help serve as a way to show appreciation for that. So, yeah, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit, and because people have a tendency to say thank you for your service on Memorial Day, and that's not what we're doing. We should be remembering those that fell, and it's fine to thank somebody for their service, but on Memorial Day, you see a service member, and just what you really need to do is kind of remember all those that have fallen, and say that you stand there with them, and if they lost any comrades, that I wouldn't say feel sorry for them. How would I say that? That you recognize the service that their fallen comrades had done, and that you're thankful for what they gave their life for. That's more of an appropriate thing to say to them. Some of them might get teared up because they probably have friends or even family that have passed while serving. Well, I'm going to go on, and I'm going to quote here a little bit from, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I want to quote some what I feel are some important sections of a Memorial Day speech for 2019 that the American Legion put out. I think there's some different pieces here that are really pertinent and really touched me, and so I want to read a little bit of this. So this is a quote from that Memorial Day 2019 speech that could have been given by me or anybody at a Memorial Day presentation, but there's, like I said, there's sections here I want to talk about or read. So this is a quote. So, just before Election Day in 2018, an American soldier in Afghanistan posted on Facebook. He wrote, quote, "As the USA gets ready to vote in our election Tuesday, I hope everyone back home exercises their precious right to vote, and that whatever the Republicans or the Democrats win, that we all remember that we have far more as Americans that unites us than divides us. United we stand, divided we fall. God bless America," end quote. Although the soldier who posted these wise words was a member of the National Guard and was described as a proud Republican, his family likely had little interest in the actual results of the election. It mattered not that he was also the mayor of North Ogden, Utah. When Election Day arrived in Utah, so did the honor guard accompanying his remains. The flag draped over the casket of Major Brent Taylor, husband of one, father of seven, an inspiration to millions. Utah weeps for them today, his state's lieutenant governor wrote of the Taylor family. He could have added that his nation wept as well. A veteran of 2 tours in Iraq, Major Taylor was killed when a cowardly member of the Afghan National Security Force opened fire on him during an insider attack near Kabul. Major Taylor did not need to serve in the military. Like all U.S. veterans of the global war on terrorism, he chose to serve in the military. Politics are irrelevant to a family that hears the words, "We regret to inform you." In fact, Joan Steen, a behavioral health counselor and Gold Star widow, recently wrote a book with the same title, We Regret to Inform You. To Gold Star parents, she writes, the reality that your child is dead comes in doses. Reality doesn't have sensitivity or good manners, and you may be confronted with a harsh dose when you least expect it. Likewise, reality seems to operate on its own arrival schedule. End quote. From the American Revolution to our current operations against terrorism, 1 million American men and women have made the supreme sacrifice while serving in wars and conflicts. We honor all of them, not just those with the highest medals or the heroes who fought in the most famous battles. Long after the battlefield guns have silenced and the bombs stop exploding, the children of our fallen warriors will still be missing a parent. Spouses will continue to miss their life partners. Parents will never stop grieving for their heroic sons and daughters that died way too early. We need to be there for all of them. Nobody can replace these fallen heroes, especially in the eyes of their families. But we can offer shoulders to cry on and assurances that their loved one's sacrifice will not be forgotten. Maybe we can contribute in ways such as handling a car repair, babysitting, or mowing a Gold Star family's lawn. We cannot bring back the departed, but we can honor their sacrifice by caring for those whom they've loved most. As Americans, we should all remember that freedom isn't free. It's only possible because of our fallen heroes have paid the high price. A price paid which enables us to have ceremonies and observances in communities across our great nation. Major Brent Taylor called on us to be unified. When we consider the sacrifice that he and his brothers and sisters in arms made for us, it is the least we can do for them. Well, now I think I want to talk a little bit about someone that I knew, and he's no longer with us. I want to talk about a friend of mine, and I knew him for several years, and he was he was funny. He was an interesting fellow, and that is Paul J. Peterson. He was 42 when he passed, and he was a reserve soldier in Kaiserslautern, Germany. And he also was an Army civilian as well. And he was in my unit. And Pete, as he was known, Pete was he was in the 457th Civil Affairs Battalion in Kaiserslautern under the 7th Civil Support Command. And Pete was just amazing in a lot of ways. I mean, he never failed to surprise me about different things, and he was always there to help. And I remember the day he passed. I remember that day very well. He was helping one of our colonels, battalion commanders, with an issue and stayed late. And actually, him staying late to work could have been, contributed to his death because of what happened, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So Pete was always trying to help everybody, and he really wanted to help the colonel. And so he thought he had solved the problem, but the colonel called back right before he was getting ready to leave, and it still wasn't solved. So he was working on that problem. And he finally got the colonel satisfied with the problem. And I'm not sure if it actually fixed the problem, but he did the best he could, and he left work and headed home. Well, he lived in Hochspeyer, and he went home, and he got his significant other and a couple other people. They were, I believe one was daughter of his significant other, and she had a small baby, and her husband slash boyfriend, I don't know if they were married yet, and got them all gathered up in his little Ford Fiesta or whatever that thing was. Man, that thing was old. It was an older vehicle, and he loaded everybody up. The baby's in the car seat. They're all going to base because they were going to go get some stuff, and he was running late, so he's hurrying along. And as he crested a hill, it was at dusk, and as he crested a hill, there was some headlights, but he couldn't tell that they were in his lane, and as he crested the hill, he was hit head on. And Pete and the 20-year-old male and the 23-year-old female passed in that accident. That was on November 4th, 2011. I remember that day pretty well. And the next days and the days following that, it was pretty traumatic. The fact that the baby survived with very little injuries was amazing. Actually, they didn't even know a baby was in there until they heard something, and they had to move some of the other bodies, and they found the baby. And the 31-year-old woman, who's his significant other at the time, she was also in the back when she was actually sitting up front with him, and she was thrown to the rear of the vehicle, and I guess the whole front of the vehicle crashed up. Anyway, point is, Pete didn't survive that, and I really miss him sometimes. And Memorial Day, even though he was serving and he didn't die on a battlefield, he still served his country well, as best he could. And he did a very good job of making an impact on all our lives. And I'm sure all of those, if any of my other comrades from back there in Germany, and some of you are back here in the States now, but if any of you listen to this podcast, you'll probably agree with me that he was a pretty good guy and really loved what he did. But, yeah, so, I mean, that's one thing that happened when you're out there serving. You don't know when your number's up. And a person that signs up and goes out there and is willing to sign that blank check, as they say, and serve in the military, you don't know. You don't know if you're going to be over in Afghanistan, Iraq, or someplace. You don't know if you're going to be over there and an IED hits you. You don't know what's going to happen, or you just don't know. I mean, some of the people I've heard that they served over there multiple combat tours, come back here, and they get killed in a very ridiculous way of drunk drivers or other things. But no matter what happens, these soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Coast Guard, any of these people that have served deserve our appreciation, our thanks for our freedom, and we need to remember them on this day. And that's what this day is all about. It's about remembering them. And today, Pete, I remember you. Thank you for your ultimate sacrifice. So, excuse me, got a little cough. So the next thing, this is something that you hear. I'm going to read a poem, and this poem is given or read at almost every Memorial Day service I've been to and different things. But listen to it. If you've never heard it, listen to it. Really listen to it. And if you have heard it, truly listen to it, of what it's saying. It'll bring goosebumps to you if you really think about the words and what they're talking about. And I'm talking about the poem In Flanders Fields by John McCrae. So here we go. In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky The larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw a sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high, if ye break faith with us who die. We shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders field. I find that quite touching. I have been over there. I spent, as I've said before on my podcast, I've spent 25 years in Europe. I've been to Normandy. I've been to many different battlefield locations. I've been to the big cemetery where General Patton is buried, and saw him being his cross, or where he's buried right in front of his peoples, right in front of his soldiers. And it's a very touching thing to be at those cemeteries. And a lot of people go over there, they go visit them, but I would go over there as much as I could because I lived over there. And we also did Memorial Day services there. And so it means something to me. And I hope it does to you too. I hope you like what I read there. I hope that everybody has a good Memorial Day. I hope that you remember and take a moment to remember. I really wish that we didn't have to send our troops in harm's way, but it is a necessary evil. It is necessary to protect our freedoms. No matter what anybody says, I've heard even, why do people have to serve over there? Why are we even over there? Well, there's much more than I would ever talk about here, but there are reasons. There are. Well, Memorial Day. I hope everybody had a good one. Everybody that listens to this will listen to it after Memorial Day. So just remember why we celebrate Memorial Day. All right, folks, I'm going to take a break, and we'll be back after the break. And then we'll wrap it up. Have you ever wanted to go out and express your beliefs by wearing a cap? Many of us wear caps. Many of us fly flags in front of our house. Well, our friends at U.S. Specialties have a lot of what you just might want. Anything from military to first responder to faith, religious caps, anything you might want. You need to go out and check out us-specialties.com and put in discount code I am Nylis for 40% off all products across the site. That's an amazing discount from an amazing company. Go out there and check them out, us-specialties.com. Every day, we have the ability and opportunity to create a more accepting world by actively coming together and living inclusively. Even small acts of inclusion can have a big impact and make others feel loved and accepted. Because most people don't see themselves as part of the problem, they don't recognize that they can be part of the solution. Before anything else, we're all human. Start a conversation and create a deeper connection. Consider whose voices are. and are not represented. Use inclusive, appropriate, and respectful language. As my grandmother used to say, respect those, and they'll respect you. Learn how you can come together at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by the Ad Council. Well, everyone, thanks for joining me on I Am Nylis and my special Memorial Day podcast. And again, we can be reached at facebook.com/I Am Nylis, Twitter @I Am Nylis, and email info@IamNylis.com. And I appreciate everybody listening today, and I would appreciate you remembering Memorial Day for how it is, and doesn't mean you can't go out there and have a good barbecue and everything else. Just please take time to remember those that are fallen, and I would really appreciate that. Thank you, everyone, and have a good day, and we'll talk to you next time.